Good morning, my name's Owen and today we're going to be walking the Naze Walk.
Give me one last show. Loosen my mind from within before it starts to wear and thin. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Good morning, it's the 1st of January 2022 and as you can just tell from that sunrise, it is a beautiful morning. It's about 11 degrees Celsius here in Frinton and today we're going to be walking the Naze Walk, one of my favourite walks. Actually, one of the first walks we made a video of nearly 3 years ago now. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but just really enjoying this sunrise as we're walking along here. I'm going to waste no time because I've got a cool video here of the route we're taking today. So we'll have a quick look at that, get a bit of perspective for today, and we're going to get on with the rest of the walk. Today's walk is a 34.5 kilometre walk from Frinton, around Walton on the Naze, out to the Kirby's, and then back to Frinton. The first leg to Walton on the Naze was 2.5 kilometres. The second leg to the Naze Tower was 2 kilometres. The third leg to the Walton backwaters was 7 kilometres in distance. The fourth leg to the Walton on the Naze War Memorials was 2 kilometres in distance. The fifth leg to Horsey Island was 3 kilometres. The sixth leg to Kirby Lesoken was 3 kilometres in distance. The seventh leg to Frinton Railway Station was 4 kilometres in distance. And then the final leg back to Frinton Seafront was 1 kilometre.
Let me be myself.
Sorry if it sounds like I'm talking quite loud. I've come and sought some refuge in an old Victorian beach hut because it is quite loud here with the wind and the waves crashing in. But I've just been to the Private Columbine Memorial. It's absolutely stunning. And what it does is it commemorates Private Columbine, who was in the 9th Squadron of the Machine Gun Corps in the First World War over in France. And the statue was put there to commemorate his winning of the Victoria Cross and his death in battle by bravery. And I'll tell you a little bit about his story. So he was holding the line in the trenches in France, and the Germans were advancing. And as more and more of his squadron went down, he found himself having to take command of a Lewis gun. So he stood up to the command and he held the entire trench line from waves and waves of advancing Germans from 9 AM in the morning till 1 PM in the afternoon, at which point he was killed by a low-flying aircraft. He won a Victoria Cross for that bravery, and the reason why it's here in Walton is because his family home was actually situated here in Walton. It's an amazing statue to come and see, because the statue is situated on the headland, just above the pier, and it actually looks out over the English Channel to France. I managed to catch a view of it this morning as the sun was rising. I think it's just quite an amazing thing to think about as we start a new year. We've not had an easy few years, but when you compare it against the awful things that happened in the First World War, the Second World War, it kind of puts everything into perspective. You know, we're lucky to live in the world we do today. Had Private Columbine survived, he would have had to deal with the 1918 Spanish flu. So would he have found himself in quite a similar situation? Who knows? It's just quite an interesting thing to think about. I mean, he was 24 when he died, which I'm aware is only 3 years older than I am now. And to have his life cut short so early, you know, in such a heroic cause, it's really quite fascinating. Now, obviously I'm here in Walton, so I've walked up the coast a bit, and that walk as the sun was rising was just phenomenal. Just walking along, talking to people, just so many people on the seafront, just admiring that sunrise. As with themes today with the new year, it's a nice way to start the new year, sort of a nice sunrise to put a bit of hope in everyone's eyes. But could be quite an interesting year ahead. Certainly I know I can tell you we're going to have an interesting year. So anyway, we'll leave a little bit of that for later. I'm going to get walking up the coast again. We're heading off towards the Naze. Well, we'll have a see. We might find something interesting on the way to talk about. So it's an adventure. Let's go see what it has to hold. So then, we've made our way to the Naze, and just up here on the headland now. I'm just perched on this Type 22 bunker. You might think it's pretty weird seeing a bunker just out here in the countryside, but it's actually quite a common occurrence for us here in Essex. Now, myself and Harrison have been here before. It was one of the first ever training walks we actually did for the Essex Way. So it's nice to be back here. We got a pretty cool photo just to start at the top there. Bit of nostalgia coming back. But yeah, no, it's nice to be back here. It's not much of a rare occurrence for us here in Essex because it actually formed a lot of the Eastern Command Line. So there were pillboxes scattered everywhere and still are today along that Eastern Command Line, which was actually put in place to stop the Nazi invasion of Britain during the Second World War. Now, we're lucky that the Battle of Britain was successful and that there never was a conventional invasion of Britain, but had there been, these fantastic things were in place to stop any coastal invasions and also further inland on the Eastern Command Line to stop them advancing up the rivers. Now, this place actually has a wider involvement in the Second World War than just forming a part of the Eastern Command Line, which we've actually seen down in Mersey, we've seen up in Harwich, we've seen at Earl's Colne on some of those walks. There's links to those walks which you can watch. However, here there was actually a radar station, which we'll actually have a look at in a minute. There were troops stationed here from Scotland, and they stayed in a barracks here. And also there was a missile testing range for the RAF here. So we're going to go and have a look at them in a minute. But it's just quite an interesting overview of the place. So let's go explore it. Now, I'm standing on this flat piece of grass. It sort of sits here and extends further to the south, a little bit more to the west, and I can see the actual bunker we were just at over there. But this is actually the site of where the barracks accommodation was. So where all the Scottish Highland Regiment troops stayed was here. And then just off to the east that way is the old RAF missile testing range. Now, this is where the first guided missiles were tested. It's quite interesting that they put it here. The coastal erosion here would have meant that it was slightly more inland. We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, they would have launched their missiles off the top of the headland, fired them out to sea, and seen how accurate they were. Quite interesting, because now obviously missiles are something that's used in combat quite regularly. To think that it all started here is, you know, it's quite something. Anyway, I'm going to head off, have a look at the radar station. Hopefully you'll be able to come and find that quite interesting. So I'm just sat here now at the base of the Naze Tower. It was built in 1720 by Trinity House, and it was used as a beacon originally to stop any ships that were coming in to Felixstowe and Harwich from hitting the cliffs here. It was then repurposed in the Second World War and used as a radar station. And what would happen is that the aircraft would be identified as they were crossing, and Fighter Command would be informed. The Royal Observer Corps would try and identify which aircraft they are, and the RAF would scramble their Spitfires and Hurricanes to go and intercept the German bombers and fighters over the sea. It was our secret weapon. We knew they were coming before they got over land, and it allowed us to just get out there and get the edge on the fight. It's now been restored to how it originally looked in 1720, and it's quite an impressive sight on the coast here. I'm going to head down onto the beach now. We'll be able to get some more views of the tower, but what we're going to look at now is some of the coastal defences down there, not just in terms of wartime coastal defences, but also to protect this headland from coastal erosion. So we're going to head down there, have a look, see what we can find. So I'm down here at the base of the cliffs now, and as you can probably see, the tide's pretty high. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it around on the beach, but we'll have a look at the tidal times and see how it works out. Might have to just go up on the headland and see if I can make my way over there that way. But it is quite fitting that the tide's high, because it's one of the most important matters about this this headland here, and that's that it's one of the quickest eroding headlands in the UK. The cliffs are rotationally slumping, so what that means is that as the waves hit it, it hits the soft clay on the bottom. The water then ends up being absorbed into that clay, it weakens its structure, and then it slips, and then the red crag that lays above it then also rotates downwards. The red crag is then dissolved into sand and then works its way up the coast towards Orford Ness. Now, what's really interesting about this is, as we talked about recently on the Mersey Island Coastal Way Walk, it's exactly the same geological structure here. So the cliffs that are here are exactly the same as what's down there. Really fascinating. Now, recently attempts have been made to try and save the cliffs, to try and save, importantly, the Naze Tower behind us from succumbing to the sea. And what's been done is what I'm sitting on now, which is known as the crag, and it's these massive boulders of granite that have been brought across from the European continent, and they've been put here to try and obviously withstand the tide. The cliffs are still eroding, but obviously at a much slower rate, and that's obviously in the hope to try and keep the headland from falling into the sea. Now, you can actually work out from some of the local environment just how quickly the coast has been eroding by some pillboxes that are currently in the sea. Now, they originally sat on the top of the headland, and unfortunately I can't get down there to show you now, but due to the wizardry of modern technology, I'm going to be able to show you some quick calculations and some quick map work to be able to show you the rate at which the cliffs are actually retreating, just by using some historical features. So I'm going to show you that now. Hopefully you enjoy it. I'm going to try and find a way up to the rest of the path, but in the meantime, enjoy this video.
In this short video, we're going to be looking at the coastal erosion of Walton-on-the-Naze using historical markers as a reference. The pillboxes in the sea at the Naze originally sat on the edge of the cliffs to defend the headland. From this photo taken in 1945, we know that the pillboxes fell victim to coastal erosion in that year. If we measure the distance from the pillbox to the cliff edge, which is 105 metres, we can confirm that the coast has eroded 105 metres in 77 years. We can therefore determine that the cliffs retreat at a rate of 1.4 metres every year. That means that if the crag hadn't been installed, the Naze Tower would have only had another 38 years before it fell into the sea.
I've just made my way around the backwaters here at the Naze. Some fantastic views of the Naze Tower sort of contrasting against the sun, getting some good silhouettes there. Also saw some fantastic wildlife, saw some birds of prey sort of hovering around looking for some food. But I've just found myself this concrete barge here, and I'm just about to sit and have a little bite to eat. It's a fantastic walk that. We're about maybe 11.5 kilometers of the way around the walk, so we're not doing too bad. That was pretty slippy walking over though. It's been a while since I've done a muddy walk, but yeah, no, just getting used to walking, sort of slipping a bit, but yeah, we're getting there, we're getting around. It's nice to be in sort of the salt marshes again as well. It reminds me a lot of when me and Harrison did the Mersey Island Coastal Way walk, walking along, and certainly along the sea wall there, seeing a lot of the boats coming to and from. The marina here sort of reminded me a bit of that, and yeah, it's just all round very pleasant. It's a nice day as well, it's not too cold, not too warm, sun's shining, so yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna get a bite to eat. Our next stop is actually the church, so gonna get a bit of food, go and have a look at the church, and then see where the rest of the walk takes us. So I've just made my way to the parish church here at Walton. Fantastic, lovely stone church. And just over to the right of it, where I am now, is the war memorials for Walton. And this is actually one of my favourite war memorials. More specifically, the Royal Air Force War Memorial here. As you can see right now, it's actually constructed of 3 blades from a Royal Canadian Air Force Halifax that crashed on its way back from an operational mission on the continent, and it actually crashed here in Walton. Now, in the 1970s, the 60th anniversary of the Royal Air Force, the monument was erected to remember the service of the Royal Air Force and also that of the Royal Air Force Association, and it was actually 308 Colchester Squadron that went out and managed to retrieve the 3 blades of the Halifax, and so the monument was created. It's one of the more interesting monuments I've ever seen. I really like that it has that history that's almost been repurposed, and you can tell the stories of the aircrew, and especially that specific Halifax aircrew that lost their lives just on those 3 propellers there. It's really quite fascinating. That was quite a long walk really from the start over there by Walton, and then coming around the Naze and back here again. I'd say we're about halfway through the walk now, but this is one of those funny walks whereby you the Naze has quite a narrow bottleneck to get up to it, so you end up going out quite far and then end up maybe 100 meters from where we were earlier. But yeah, we're going to head on towards an old anti-aircraft placement, and also quite an interesting road. So it's got quite a bit of importance for me, maybe a few other people my age, but we're going to head out there, go have a look at it. A bit of a surprise for now, but when we get there, I promise you won't be disappointed. So we've just arrived at a road called Island Lane, and it's just south of a place called Horsey Island. We're about 16.5 kilometres of the way through the walk, and not feeling too bad. I'm currently stood on an old anti-aircraft gun placement. It looks like a standard pillbox, but the big difference is this big gaping space in front of us, which would have housed an anti-aircraft gun at the time, which would have obviously defended our skies during the Second World War. This road behind me that you can see is a tidally accessible road. So we're quite lucky now that the tide has gone out and the water's quite low. And we can actually see right across to Horsey Island, where you can come down this road, but it's only accessible when the water's low. This place is pretty funny place to be, really, because I remember doing my GCSE geography exam, and it was a physical geography paper, and we had a section on it to do with ordnance survey maps. Now, I'm quite confident with ordnance survey maps, so the biggest surprise for me was going to be where we were going to end up obviously doing our assessment on, and opened up the page, and it was right here, the backwaters of Walton on the Naze and Horsey Island. So yeah, it's quite a fascinating place, really. I always think of that when I come back walking this way. You know, quite a lot of academia you don't really think has much practical use until you actually get out there and you're walking in amongst the countryside. And you know, it's just funny that one of the places that I've been assessed on in the past is somewhere that I quite enjoy walking. Wouldn't it be nice if all exams were like that? But yeah, no, it's the actual area itself is a nature reserve. So as we've talked about in the past, the salt marshes that you find in sort of northeast Essex are actually really, really valuable. They're internationally protected because of the species that come here to the species of birds that migrate here during the winter and the summer, in order to have that nice environment to live. So yeah, it's quite pleasant, really. Anyway, we're going to walk up a bit more along the seawall, have a look at some more of the salt marshes. Now that the water's come quite far down, we can see some of the wildlife and some of the grass, so that'll be quite nice. And then we're going to head over to Kirby Le Soken, which I can actually see the church of from here. So that's our next stop. We're going to walk there, hopefully get some nice views on the way, and then maybe have a sit down and a bit of a chat and talk about the future of what to expect with our walking channels. Anyway, see you in a bit. We've just made it to Kirby Lesoken. I'm just here in the churchyard at the moment. It's a lovely church here. It's got all flint up the side of it. It's all made out of flint. So it's got this fantastic grey sheen to it. It's amazing. But this is sort of my opportunity to talk a little bit. So me and Harrison went on a pretty cool walk a few weeks ago around the South Downs, and it was nice to get him down there as well because it is quite far away from him in York, but it was a fantastic walk. We were quite lucky that it was pretty much at freezing temperature all day, so it was just that nice feeling when you're walking along and you don't really have to worry about sort of slippery mud, and the sun was sort of sitting on the horizon all day. It was just fantastic. So hopefully we'll be able to go back out there and do that one, because I think that'll make a terrific video. We've also got, after that, I sort of had a bit of an issue whereby just before Christmas I got COVID. So I ended up having to isolate for 10 days with that, which was pretty nasty. But yeah, luckily I didn't have any symptoms, but coming out of it feeling pretty tired. But isn't that everyone around Christmas and New Year? So yeah, no, it's quite interesting to be out walking again, sort of getting back into the pace of this sort of long distance exercise again. But as I said, I wasn't really that affected by it, so I am quite lucky really. And then the other day I sort of had this idea I've been playing with for a while, and I thought, do you know what, let's just do it. 2022, let's start something. Let's sort of change things around a bit. So I made the decision to change the name from You, the Island and I to Essex Walking Britain. And the idea around that is that I feel like the new way that we're going with this is better reflective of what we actually do. So the sort of You, the Island and I bit was very much for the Isle of Arran challenge. I obviously decided to keep this going after that because people enjoy it and it's good fun, but what we do wasn't really getting the audience that it sort of deserved from that name. We are sort of at the mercy of internet searches, and if people look up You, the Island and I, they usually tend to get lots of Love Island stuff, which doesn't really have anything to do with what we do. So Essex walking, sort of walking Britain, you know, that's sort of the type of stuff we do. So that's the name we've got. So hopefully when people sort of search up that sort of stuff, they'll find us and they'll enjoy the videos just like you do. So yeah, that's sort of the idea behind that, really. That doesn't mean, however, that in the future, or because we've changed the name, we're not going to have anything to do with the Isle of Arran or anything like that. No, this is Essex Walking Britain. So we're going to walk everywhere. We're going to do loads of stuff this year. 2022 might be the biggest year we've done so far. We're going to continue doing sort of these sorts of walks and videos, but we're also going to do a summer challenge like we've done sort of every year apart from last year, unfortunately. But this summer challenge is going to be fantastic. It's currently in the planning, so I won't talk too much about it, but it's going to be brilliant, and hopefully it's not just going to be me doing it. We get loads of familiar faces and friends on it as well. So yeah, no, we've definitely got that to look forward to. And as I said, sort of mentioned there, new faces. So we're going to get some new people enjoying the walks with us. So anyway, that's a little bit of an update from me. We're going to walk on towards Frinton now. When we get to Frinton, we'll talk a little bit about the Sunshine Coastline, because you can't come to Frinton and Walton and not talk about it. So yeah, that's the plan going forward. Head over there, get some of that done, and then we'll be sort of coming towards the end of this walk. So anyway, we'll see you in a bit.
There's a love with his back to me, wandering down through an endless street. I'm curious, and would like to intrigue. Is this inspiration or self-defeat? And from the corner his figure fades, and should I follow a retrograde? Here's a time with a furrowed brow, crooked finger and nonplussed scowl. There's symmetry he will soon endow, crafting tone rose with his head face down. If I take pleasure in melodies, have I betrayed best tendencies? Oh, well, then we part our hair the same, posing next to a drawer and frame.
So I've just arrived at Frinton train station, and you might think that's a bit of a weird place to come on a walk. You know, we're not getting the train, why are we coming to the train station? And that's because this was much more than a train station. This used to be a cultural hub. Before the commercialisation of airlines was widely available to the majority of the population, so say mid-70s, people were restricted in the UK to sort of come on holiday within the UK. And being close to London, being on the east coast, so quite sunny, Frinton, Walton, Clacton and Jaywick were quite popular places to come on holiday in the summer. So you're talking Victorian times all the way through to about the 1960s. It wasn't uncommon to see this place absolutely buzzing with people like an airport. And that's just as the trains came in from London and further out into the UK. People would come here and they'd go to the beach huts, and you know, they'd stay in local places, and then they'd obviously spend their summer on the beaches. Around those sort of times, Butlins and places like that were pretty huge. So there used to be massive sort of like those holiday parks around this area. But unfortunately, with the commercialisation of airlines becoming far more available, people going abroad cheaper than it costs to actually come on holiday here, The place has sort of gone from a tourism area to more of like a residential area. I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone comes here from Essex in the summer at least once for a day out. I know I did in the summer, and by God, it was hot. I definitely got sunburn coming away from that. But yeah, it really is quite delightful here in the summer. It's just a shame. It would be nice to see a little bit more of that, because areas like this, they end up becoming almost unknown. And back prior to the 60s, no one wouldn't know Frinton and Walton and Clacton and Jaywick. So yeah, it's a shame, but you know, it's always nice, especially with the last few years. Every time I've come here, it's been pretty busy. So it's pretty hard evidence that once you remove the availability to go abroad on holiday, this place is absolutely packed. So yeah, it would be nice to see people coming on holiday here again, but whether the locals would like it or not is something completely different. But yeah, anyway, that's the Sunshine Coastline. It's just an interesting fact. When I talk to people about it these days, people just completely oblivious to it. So yes, nice little bit of history. But anyway, this is the final bit of the walk. I'm going to walk down to the seafront and sort of wrap up the walk there. But yeah, that's pretty much it today. So I'll see you in a bit. Thank you for watching today's video. This is in fact the end of the video. I'm not at Frinton anymore. I'm actually at Ardley Reservoir. The reason why I'm here is because I got down to the beach at Frinton and it was so busy. I sat there to myself and I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to film this without getting people in without asking for their consent. And I'm not really a big fan of like videoing people without their consent, so I thought, go somewhere else and do it. So I'm actually at Ardley Reservoir, where I usually come and do my narrations for map videos and stuff like that. So I'm here anyway, so I might as well just do it here. So if you enjoyed today's walk, please share it, tell all your friends about it. If you know someone who enjoys this sort of stuff, just let them know, because you never know, they might absolutely love it and might want to see more videos. Speaking of more videos, if you do enjoy the videos, then please subscribe, because then when we do release future videos, you can watch them. And also we have quite a back catalogue of old videos as well, that if you enjoyed this one, you'll probably like them as well. So go check them out, go look at them. Please leave a like and a comment. Comments are really important for us, because obviously the more comments we get, the more our videos get seen. And also it gives us feedback, so we get to know what's good, what's bad, and change it accordingly, or not change it if that's the case. Also we have social media. So social media's changed recently. It's at Walking Essex Walking Britain, so you should be able to find it at Essex Walking Britain, and that's on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you again for watching today's video. Hopefully it shouldn't be long until the next one, but see you in the next video. Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please press the like button to let us know how much you enjoyed it. If you'd like to subscribe to watch future videos like this, please press the button down here on the right. If you'd like to watch our previous challenge, please press the playlist up here on the right. And if you'd like to watch our most recent upload, please press the button up here on the left.